The Ottoman Empire is the story of how a small principality grew into a state and eventually into an empire that ruled across 3 continents. Here is the history of the Ottoman Empire in 10 minutes. Although the foundations of the Ottoman state were laid in Suud, we should first mention Süleyman Shah and his son Ertuğrul Bey, who faced many hardships before reaching these lands. Süleyman Shah brought the Kayu tribe from Central Asia to Alat, and later Ertuğrul Bey led them to Suud. According to historians, when the Kayu tribe settled in Suud, they were only a small principality consisting of around 400 tents. However, Ertuğrul Bey established good relations with the other Turkmen beys in Anatolia and continuously launched raids along the Byzantine frontier. His son, Osman Gazi, who succeeded him and is regarded as the founder of the state, expanded and continued his father's policies. Inspired by the spirit of Gaza, other Anatolian beys also began to gather around him. By 1299, the Kayu were no longer just a small principality. Under the leadership of Osman Gazi, they came to be known as the Ottomans, and thus the Ottoman state was founded in Suud. During the reign of Osman Gazi, the Ottomans gradually moved from tents into fortified castles and towns. His son Orhan Gazi expanded the lands he inherited from his father fivefold and extended the Ottoman borders as far as the Dardanelles, taking the empire's first step into Europe. From that moment on, the Ottomans would never completely leave Europe again. Up to this point, all Ottoman rulers had used the title Bey. However, with Murad Hudavendigar, the title Sultan began to be used. Less than 100 years after its foundation, during the reign of Murad Hudavendigar, Byzantium was completely surrounded, and significant progress was made in the Balkans. The Ottoman state had become a major regional power. During the reign of Bayezid I, also known as Yıldırım Bayezid, Turkish political unity in Anatolia was achieved. That was the case until Timur marched into Anatolia with his armies. In 1402, at the Battle of Ankara, fought under the command of Bayezid I, the Ottomans suffered their first major defeat and received a devastating blow. The political unity of the Turkish states in Anatolia collapsed, and Bayezid was taken prisoner. Left without a leader, the state faced not only difficult days but also difficult years. During this period, known as the Ottoman Interregnum, Fetret Devri, struggles for the throne continued for 11 years, and all conquests came to a halt. This troubled era came to an end when Mehmed I ascended the throne after 11 years. He was succeeded by Murad II, and then, in 1451, a sultan whose name would never be forgotten appeared on the stage of history, Mehmed II, known as Mehmed the Conqueror, Fatih Sultan Mehmed. At just 21 years of age, he conquered Constantinople and brought the Byzantine Empire to an end. During the 30 years he remained on the throne, he conquered more than 200 cities. With the fall of Constantinople and its transformation into the capital under the name Istanbul, the Ottoman state completed its period of foundation and entered its era of rise and expansion. The grandson of Mehmed the Conqueror was Selim the Fair, whom we may call the Conqueror of the East. After taking the throne from his father, Bayezid II, Sultan Selim expanded the Ottoman lands from 2.375 million square kilometers to nearly 2.5 times that size in only 8 years, and then left the empire to his son, Sultan Süleyman. Known in the West as Süleyman the Magnificent, Sultan Süleyman turned his attention toward Europe. During his reign, Ottoman influence surrounded the Mediterranean, and the Turks advanced as far as the gates of Vienna. Sultan Süleyman ruled for 46 years and spent 10 years and 3 months of that time on military campaigns. In fact, every sultan mentioned so far personally led his army into battle and possessed military experience, as well as remarkable leadership skills. However, this long-standing tradition came to an end with Selim II. Perhaps for the first time in Ottoman history, Selim II ascended the throne instead of Prince Mustafa, who was widely regarded as the more capable heir to the throne. After the reign of Selim II, The borders of the Ottoman Empire changed very little for nearly 50 years. The empire preserved its territories, but it was no longer able to expand as it once had. As the later sultans became less interested in state affairs, a period emerged in which powerful grand viziers and influential members of the palace came to dominate the administration. With the death of Sokolu Mehmed Pasha, one of the grand viziers who had served the empire with great success, the period of stagnation began. During this period, Ahmed and Osman II ascended the throne at about the age of 14, while Mehmed IV became sultan at the age of 7. Since these rulers were still essentially children, the empire was governed by the influential women of the imperial harem and by the grand viziers. For the sake of personal interests, even rulers such as Mustafa Thwaiz and Ibrahim Reims, whose mental health was seriously questioned, were placed on the throne. As a result, the Janissaries, the empire's elite military corps, gradually lost their respect for the sultans. During this period, when personal interests outweighed the interests of the state and palace intrigues became increasingly common, Osman II, also known as Young Osman, Genç Osman, attempted to introduce reforms. However, he paid for this with his life and was murdered by the Janissaries. The brightest star of this era was Murad IV. He reconquered Baghdad, suppressed rebellions, restored order within the Janissary corps, and strengthened the authority of the central government. He accomplished these achievements not through gentle words, but through the sword. For that reason, history remembers him as a strict and uncompromising ruler. After the death of Murad IV, this order gradually began to break down once again. With the Treaty of Karlowitz in 1699, the Ottomans suffered their first major territorial losses and entered the period of decline. During the period of decline, the roles had completely reversed. Europe was now on the offensive, while the Ottoman Empire had been forced onto the defensive. The empire was in serious trouble. The authority of the central government weakened. The Silali rebellions broke out once again. The economy collapsed. Military discipline deteriorated. Many wars were lost. The Janissaries gradually came to resemble bandits more than professional soldiers. Palace intrigues became even more widespread. Perhaps most importantly, the people began to lose their faith in the state. While the Ottoman Empire was visibly sliding into crisis, its rulers were holding lavish celebrations during the Tulip era. Of course, there was another side to the story. Europe had made remarkable advances in science, grown wealthier through the age of exploration, taken important steps toward industrialization, and witnessed the rise of nationalism. By the late 18th and early 19th centuries, the increasingly powerful Russian Empire had succeeded, through wars and treaties, in completely removing the northern coast of the Black Sea from Ottoman control. When Mahmud II ascended the throne in 1808, the Ottomans finally acknowledged that they were in decline and entered an era of reform. During this period, the empire struggled to survive by pursuing a policy of maintaining the balance of power. Mahmud VI abolished the Janissary corps, and later reforms such as the Tanzimat Edict and the Imperial Reform Edict, Islahat Edict, helped prolong the life of the empire for a while longer. One of the sultans who applied this policy of balance most successfully was Abdulhamid II, who ascended the throne in 1876. Nevertheless, the empire could not prevent the loss of vast territories. In Europe, after the Russo-Turkish War of 1877-1878, the War of 93, although the opening of the Suez Canal revived Mediterranean trade, these developments ultimately did not benefit the Ottoman Empire. Cyprus and Egypt were lost one after another and came under British occupation. With the deposition of Abdulhamid II, the final act began, and the period of dissolution started. Following the Italo-Turkish War in 1911, the Balkan Wars that began in 1912, and the First World War that started in 1914, the once powerful Ottoman Empire had become what Europeans called the sick man of Europe. Only part of Anatolia remained under its control. While Istanbul was occupied by the British, parts of Anatolia were also occupied by other European powers. With the departure of the last sultan, Mehmed VI Vahdettin, the Ottoman state came to an end. In 1923, a new system and a new form of government were established, and the Republic of Turkey was proclaimed. In other words, the Ottoman state came to an end in 1923, and the Turkish state began.